have a ton of layouts to share with you today. And this isn't even all of my completed layouts, but I've taken out some. I feel like I've been hoarding them for a while. I have yet to do a layout share. So this is my first one and I'm pretty excited about it. I'll have all these layouts listed in a playlist. At the bottom, you can just hit see below or see more, and all these will be in a playlist that you can see, watch any of the process videos if you want to. But let's turn the camera around and I'll do a quick kind of impromptu walkthrough of all these layouts and let's have some fun.
So my first layout, some of you may recognize this one. I have done it just recently. This was from our trip to PEI. So these are the Green Gable, this is the Museum for Green Gables. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. Enjoyed it, other than, the end, of course. But if you watched my process video, you would have heard the story behind why I have my journaling kind of hidden on this one. And this is Lover's Lane, a picture of Lover's Lane. So around the grounds, there was tons of walking trails. And so my son and my husband and I, we kind of walked all the trails. And this is a picture of all the books and all the languages that Anne of Green Gables, that story has been, translated into. It was just amazing just to read all the letters, and it was a really fun, interesting place to go to if you ever have a chance. If you're ever in PEI, Canada, Prince Edward Island, go. If you're a Green Gables fan, of course. So that was in a flip flap. I used the Impressions of Bloom stamp set to create all of these multicolored or multi-layered flowers. It's a 2-step stamp. This DSP is the Season of Green and Gold. The ribbon I had in my stash, so I was pretty excited to use that, as well as the little hat here. This little picket fence I made from the Notes and Totes dies. You can build a little fence with it. So I just cut them in half and then, put little pickets at the top. So it's kind of reminiscent of what's in the photo. And then you may remember I had the word fresh spelt wrong forever during the process video, and finally kind of changed it at the end. So I created that on my Cricut with the print then cut. The birds are from the Nests of Winter, and all the sprigs here were cut from the Seasons of Green and Gold with the stamp set that went with it, the Golden Greenery. Now, unfortunately, these are most of these items are no longer available as far as the paper and the sprigs. Now, the stamp set, Impressions of Bloom, is still available. The Notes and Totes are still available. And the Nests of Winter as well, or Nests of Winter. That is all still available. So I'll move that to the side. And the next one, this one was lots of fun. So this is created with 6x6 paper. I think there's a little bit of a glare there. Let me just try and fix that. Okay, that's a little bit better anyway. 6x6 paper. So this was the Lily Pond Lane. This is the one that was in last year's catalog with all the ducks. But it also had koi fish. The fern branches are from the Wild Fern stamp and die set, which is no longer available. I don't believe that this paper collection, this DSP, is available anymore either, the Lily Pond Lane. But I cut the koi fish from the paper. And then these, because they're 6x6, I had just bought them together. And because it's a bit of a pattern, and of course there's a picture on top, you can't even see where the seam is. So that's nice. And then the woven, this is from the Woven Textures DSP, which I believe is still available. I used that because it matched the chairs in the background. So I kind of brought that forward, and of course there's ferns in the background of the pictures, and that's where the ferns came from. This one is a die from my stash, and the tag, cut these into tags. This one was a fun one to create. A lot of fussy cutting, and then I created my title again on the Cricut and just did a print then cut. This one I created quite recently. Again, this this is my youngest son, Evan. He was 80s Day. This one I created this record, and I showed how I embossed the grooves in there. So I'm not sure. This is just clear embossing powder, and I used like nesting circle dies, and glue. I actually used white glue, and I just traced them with the glue and then put the embossing powder over top. I created this with my Cricut. I had this sticker. Actually, it was part of a set or stickers that I've been hanging on to for a long time. So it was really nice to get that used up. I printed my tag onto clear Avery shipping paper or shipping labels, and I just put it over top of the tag. I just felt like it was a little bit easier at the time. I'm not sure why I didn't print directly onto the label or onto the tag, but anyway, some of these I just cut with the Cricut, and then this is the party alphabet dies. I love those. They have quickly become a favorite and a staple in my craft room. And then I used the embossing folder, the mini corrugated embossing folder, to add some texture to the title. And it says, Boombox. This is my same kid, Evan, my youngest. Of course, this is many years later. This is, the same, I forgot to mention that. This DSP is the woven textures. The botanical textures. That's what it is. The B sides of the botanical textures. It's all black and white. And then I use the B sides as well to create this one. And actually, this one is leftover pieces from this layout, which is kind of neat. Maybe it should have went first. But anyway, again, I used the mini corrugated embossing folder to create some like little circles and just some texture in there. These stickers came from that same set as the guitar from the last layout, so that's kind of cool. Now I believe I've used up all the stickers from that sheet now, so those are old. This was Brave was these were from my stash, and I really like how this title turned out. I used the Frosted Forest dies, and I created like a little scene, like that's our front yard, and I kind of moved that over to the side. Used some splatters from the Elements of Text stamps, and this sticker is from my stash as well. And then this is a key from the Tags to Go, and I believe, these are brads. These are actual brads from my stash. And there is a process video to go with this. I know some said that they weren't too sure about this layout, but I'm really happy with how it came to be. I think this is a really cool looking masculine layout. And this paper here is the Seasons of Green and Gold. So I mixed a few paper collections for this one, and lots of stuff from my stash, of course. So this next double page layout I created using a card kit. So this, let me scooch that over a little bit. So this is Cityscapes, I believe, was the name of the card kit. These are the card bases here that I used for this strip. And then this paper is the Country Lace paper, or DSP. And yeah, that's pretty much all I used. I had basic white cardstock, and then most of these embellishments are created from the card kit, and then I brought in a few things from my stash. The title I created with the Documenting the Day. That was a celebration stamp set. These clouds were from the Umbrella Days stamp set and dies. Yeah, I created a little pocket to put our ticket in. And this was the Calgary Tower. Okay, this was a fun layout. I had so much fun creating this layout. It's a little bit different, but very much reminiscent of this character that this is my son Evan. This is one of his best friends, Landon. Yes, he is dressed up as a fairy. That was his character that he played. Her name was Edna. Edna Fairy. He did a phenomenal job, and I absolutely had the best time documenting these pictures. A good friend of mine took these pictures. We weren't actually allowed to take pictures during the presentation, but she's a photographer and she comes in during dress rehearsal, and she'll take all of these pictures, and I was able to get my hands on them, so I was pretty excited about that. Of course, this is at the end of the play, and I made them pose together, but this was from the beautiful Bokeh 6x6 papers, and I pretty much used almost every single pattern that was available. And then this little strip here is from the Thoughtful Journey Memories and More cards. I created a little pocket to put the playbook in, and then this is my journaling card. And I do have a process video about this layout. I used a stencil to create the stars, and I blended all the colors together. I kind of wanted it more of like this ombre look. And then I put some splatters in there and some text from the Elements of Text. The character Edna, she was, or he, kind of this very clumsy fairy that had a manly voice and not so pretty. And of course, all the other fairies were beautiful, and they kind of made fun of Edna in a sense, but she ended up stealing the show. And so I wanted this layout to be kind of a mess, but a beautiful mess, because that was Edna's character. And so anyway, it was I wrote some really nice things about this Evan's friend Landon, and I had a lot of fun creating this very girly yet masculine, messy page. Anyway, so that was that. Okay, so this next layout I created using the Marbled Elegance DSP. I talked about how using more loud patterns, and kind of how to tone them down a little bit. For me, I like to use them kind of on the outside edges of your layouts. I used it as a border on this, in this case. This pattern paper is a retired Stampin' Up. I think they were a 6x8 collection. And then this is the B-side of, one of the DSPs from the Marbled Elegance. These flowers they are beautiful. They are close to my heart. This was one of the collections that Close to My Heart or Stampin' Up sold when when Close to My Heart was just closing. So this got transferred over to Stamping Up. And the same with the title. I used the same stamp and die set. So this was my parents' 60th wedding anniversary, if you can believe it. So that's documenting that. And I wanted to make sure I had a huge area for my journaling. I, talked about the day, and then I actually typed out my oldest sister. She made a beautiful speech, or talked a little bit about our family and my parents and how they came to be and over the years and whatnot. And so anyway, I kept that, and I typed it out and put it. So that's in our journaling. So years to come, we'll be able to look back and read the speech that my sister wrote. Anyway, so that's that one. So we're moving on to another collection. So this is the Winter Meadows. Was this one right here, and then the Nests of Winter is what I used to do for this DSP here. So I've mixed some collections, and then of course this is an old retired set collection from Stamping Up I had in my stash, and it just pulled all the colors in beautifully from everybody. My son was wearing a very bright lime green jacket, and so instead of I kind of embraced it, and I added an unexpected color into the layout, and I think it turned out really well. I'm really happy with how this one turned out also. And this title is inspired. I did create this from my Cricut, but it was inspired by the Snow Day stamp set. I was going to use the stamp for it, but I didn't want to stamp it right onto this pattern paper, and so I ended up creating it with my Cricut instead. This is the textured timber, which of course is no longer available either. And then of course some of these are old Close to My Heart stamp sets. And this is the Forever Forest stamp set as well. And this was Stamping Up. Yeah. And the icicles, I forgot about that. That was the Frozen Edges from Stamping Up, retired. And I did it, this is double layered. So I stamped it using the textured timber, one of the stamps from textured timber that mimics this. And then underneath it, I used one of the stamps that came from the Frozen Edges, and then I cut it out with one of the die cuts. So I kind of like the way that looks. And I did use a sketch for this one, which I believe I talked about in the process video. It ended up looking quite different from the sketch, but yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out anyway. Lots of fun. These are pictures of the Moline Canyon in Jasper. And I have yet to go back. Jasper suffered some fires, massive devastation actually last summer. And I've been to Jasper several times since, of course, but Moline Canyon, the fire just whipped right through it and took out so much. I don't even know if it's open again that you can go back. I haven't tried. I should. Next time we go to Jasper, we should try and hike that. I know someone has suggested taking pictures in the summer and then scrapbooking that or documenting those. And I would still love to do that. But of course I have to wait and see, make sure that Jasper's safe. That part of Jasper is safe to hike at and visit. But it does look completely different in the summer as in the winter. We have visited, of course, in the summer as well. Jasper's kind of in our backyard, but not far from us. But anyway, yeah, moving on. So here's another one created in Jasper as well. These are pictures from Valley of the Five Lakes in Jasper. This was another hike that we took, and this again was from the winter meadows. At this time, I took winter themed DSP and created summer pages with it. I love this paper, the pattern paper. It reminds me so much of the green mountain water in these lakes. So I was really inspired to use that. Some of these are, stamps from my stash. And my title, it's the Scenic Adventure stamp set. And then these trees are from that same stamp and die set. And then the little rocks are from the Utterly Adorable dies. And then that Scenic Adventure has the beautiful mountain. I love it. And I created that little scene up there. And yeah. So that's that one. Oh, of course, that's the corrugated embossing folder again. This is a new DSP, or this was actually from a workshop kit. This is the Everyday You and Me. That's the flip flap that goes there. So these were winter hiking pictures, of course. We have a very long winter where I'm from. This is David Thompson River, and then this was, I don't remember what falls this was. Anyway, this was in Nordegg. I used the frozen edge dies, and I created these little frozen peaks, I guess. This again from the textured timber, and then I created some mountains with In the Grove. This was In the Grove stamp and die set, and I kind of thought that this was a unexpected choice, I think, for documenting winter hiking photos, the Everyday You and Me. But I think it works. The dots or polka dots or whatever in the paper kind of reminded me of the bubbles under the ice, and so that's kind of where that came from. And of course, all the colors really worked well with my pictures. Okay, this next one again is built with the Everyday You and Me collection, the workshop kit. The paper, I don't know, just spoke beach scene to me, and so I thought it worked perfectly with our surfing pictures. So back in 2022, we had a family vacation to California, and the kids took some surf lessons. Oh, I have a flip flap on this one here. And so this was obviously documenting that. I created the title with the alphabet LMO dies. This is the documenting the day stamp set. And then this little ocean or water was cut from the beach day stamp and die set. And that's what I used to create most of these embellishments here. I stamped and die cut on the Country Woods paper to create lifeguard tower. My goodness, we don't have we don't have ocean where we are, but the lifeguard tower. And then of course I created a little chair to kind of repeat that. And then this one I used the wood grain paper to stamp on. The other products that I used for embellishments or elements that I used are from a paper pumpkin kit. And I just had so much left over. I created circles or cut circles. I used the negative space from the Seaside Wishes. It embosses in this like sand. I don't know, you can kind of see it there. It kind of creates like this sandy embossed look. And so I just ran ink over that to enhance the bumps, I guess you could say. And so that created these little sandy scenes that I could, or resting spots, I guess that I could build my scenes onto. So that, I thought that was kind of clever. And then I printed my journaling on clear Avery sticker sheets because I did not want to cover up this paper. That was kind of my goal. I did not want to cover the paper up too much. So moving right along, this next double page layout is using the collection, The Friends of the Ocean. And I created this layout using a sketch from the creative design team. I also brought in Country Woods paper collection for some accents, kind of remind me of a little bit of a, of the boat we were on. Used Seaside Wishes and the Friends of the Ocean stamp and die sets for my embellishments. Some of these items are from my stash as well. The title again is Print Then Cut from my Cricut. And I was so excited to use pink. I don't get to use pink very often as a boy mom. So when I can, I really embrace it. This DSP here just reminded me so much of the sunset. So it was pretty exciting to use this as the kind of jumping off point for this, or this is my inspiration to create this layout, was this DSP here. So that's the first one. And I do have a process video, of course, with this as well. So this single page layout, again with the Friends of the Ocean DSP, I also matched it with the Country Woods. I find these two work really, really well together. And the Country Woods, I brought it in because of the flooring in the picture. I just felt like it worked really well, especially with the louder pattern paper. I also brought in some pattern paper from my stash just to include a few more colors. This design or sketch was a sketch challenge that the team that I'm on for Stamping Up, we used to do monthly challenges. And so this was 1 month's challenge. We had I think 2 sketches to choose from, and so I picked this sketch, and the title I created with my Cricut. It's another Print Then Cut, and the big steering wheel or boat, I don't know what you would call it, that is also cut out from my Cricut. I kind of like the idea of having the title kind of resting on top of that. And then there was a bunch of stickers from a sticker sheet that I used, and the lobsters are from the Friends of the Ocean DSP. And this is Spotlight and Nature dies. That's the circle dies, and to me it looks like a plate. I've always said that. I know Erin from Crafty Concepts with Erin, she says the same thing, that to her it looks like a paper plate. And then I cut a knife and fork from my Cricut. I found, a couple of other items in my stash. I really like bringing in items from my stash. It feels good to use those things up. And I cut some netting from the Cricut, just out of early espresso cardstock. And these are pictures. This is a picture of my oldest son enjoying one of his first lobsters, or that was his first lobster in New Brunswick. Not first lobster ever, just first lobster in his new home in New Brunswick. So Skipper Jack's was the name of the restaurant. These pages are from my son Evan's 10th birthday. This was back in 2018, I believe. My journaling is in a flip flap, which is above this. This goes with this picture, but it's stuck in my album actually because I already put this in there. So again, this was with the Friends of the Ocean DSP. I stamped with the Wildflower Celebrations is what it was called, that stamp set. I used the birthday birthday celebration dies or something like that to create this banner and to cut out the 10. Some of these items are from my stash also. Some old Stampin' Up! Stamp sets, as well as close to my heart. I use the nested essential dies to create these banners. And the paper plate again. Oh, I can't remember the name of that. Anyway, yeah, the balloons are from a stamp set and a punch, actually, from Stamping Up years back. And there is a lot of white space on this layout, but I felt like the pictures themselves are quite chaotic. There's a lot of kind of food and it's a big mess in the pictures. So having more of a clean style layout to me felt like it balanced the pictures a little bit more. And I have the loud, the more dominant pattern on the outside. Now I just discovered that I could have used this design like this, and this would have looked fine too. But for me, I like having my title on the left, and I wanted to break up this more bold pattern. So another layout using the Friends of the Ocean. Which way? So this one I used this is part of my summer of sketches that I had started. So I think this was one of the first ones, actually. So this is from our visit to, this was in New Brunswick, I believe. Yes, St. Andrews by the Sea in New Brunswick. I created the title with the cricket. I used the embossing folder, the Soft Wave embossing folder, and the Friends of the Ocean dies, as well as Seaside Wishes. The fish are from the Friendly Fins, and I believe that lobster is too. Stamping die set. Of course, most of these items are no longer available, unfortunately, but I'm still really enjoying working with the Friends of the Ocean DSP, and I just recently created another layout with this collection. It's in my pile. I'll share it today as well. But I have more scraps and I want to keep using it. So you'll be seeing more of this collection, even though it is no longer available. So and here's another one. So with this one, I mixed the Friends of the Ocean DSP with the Country Woods collection again. I talked about scrapbooking dark photos, kind of my tips and tricks, what I like to do when I'm scrapbooking dark photos. I tend to use kind of a darker background that matches the background in the photos, and then I use brighter colors to bring out some of the colors in the pictures to help them pop. So that's kind of what I talked about there. This is a combination. I used stamps, and this is also a print then cut, or sorry, just a cut. I just cut this on white and black cardstock, and then I used a little bit of ink blending to soften that up with some of the pumpkin pie color there. I brought in some of the lemon lime twist color because of the colors that are in the background. You can see I wanted to enhance or accentuate the light that was coming in, and the lighting was in that kind of yellowy lime color. And so by bringing in that, it helped accentuate the light or bring attention to the light in the pictures. Anyway, this is not a picture that I took. This was from the website of the world's largest lobster. This is in Shadiac, in New Brunswick. And so this was one of their stock photos, and I just printed it to use on this layout because all of my pictures were very dark. We visited this place after our supper, and I wanted to go there, so I made everybody else go there. It's kind of the way things go in my family. Yeah, brought in stamps again from my stash. This camera, I use a lot of cameras, especially like in a touristy photo setting, because you can't go wrong with a camera. So, and last but not least, so this is the layout that I very recently completed. Again, with the Friends of the Ocean collection. This, I don't know if you remembered. So this is that piece. I found it and then I just cut. So this is two pieces, and I just kind of tucked them in there. It doesn't quite match here, but it's at the bottom, so I don't feel like you won't notice it. Whereas at the top, this was an exact match. I really lucked out. Anyway, so this was the embellishments I created using the friendly fins. That was a die cut from that. I loved it. And the stingray and the shark are from the friendly fins. And then the title, again, I created with my Cricut. I promise I don't create all my titles with the Cricut. It's just, it ends up being kind of my go-to a lot of times if I don't have stamps. Or a lot of these also were created before I had some of the die cuts. So, or some of the dies, sorry. So that party alphabet day die. So a lot of times it's just easier anyway to turn to my Cricut. I used items again from my stash. And this is the sea turtle set. For these ones, I talked about how to work in those very blue photos that you may have. Like this was from an aquarium. This was the Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto, Ontario, that my husband and I just recently went to. And I love this picture. And I talked about, how kind of you want to separate the colors, the blue color, and how to work with them. And anyway, that's kind of what I talked about for that. And that's in a process video. And this again was from the Summer of Sketches that I had started. So this was a sketch from there. Anyway, so this was my first layout share. I hope that you enjoyed it. I really am having so much fun doing this. And I hope to continue to do this, or I will continue to do this. And I, again, love watching my channel grow, and it's just been a wild ride, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going with this, and I hope that you enjoy this. Let me know in the comments below, if you enjoyed any of these, or if you remember watching the original process video. If you've watched some of the really old ones, thank you for supporting me in that way. And I guess until next time, keep telling your stories one page at a time.